Does everything have a bright side to it? Of course. Doesn't always outweigh the negatives, but everything has a bright side to it. This makes happiness a choice. And here we say that the discipline of being happy is the ultimate discipline. With that said, welcome to the Ultimate Discipline Podcast, where we meet with people who are practitioners of this exact discipline, and we hear their cool stories of cultivating happiness through challenges in their life. I am your host, Sean Greenspan. Let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Happiness Discipline Podcast. I am stoked for this one with my man, Dean. Dean runs Manflow Yoga. We've actually partnered up and we're doing some work together. And over I was pretty excited to get to know Dean, someone that's practiced and made a life out of yoga. That has a lot to do with happiness, mindfulness, discipline. So I was excited about this. And then I got to know Dean, and I got even more excited about this chance to have him on the podcast. When you work with someone, you have a dynamic relationship, and we've had ups, we've had downs, we've had really exciting opportunities, and whether it's through email, calls, whatever, Dean stays extremely, extremely level-headed. I would call it stoic. We'll find out if he will. It's something that I was just naturally excited to dive into and learn more. So, Dean, I want to thank you for all the work you've done in your life to be someone that I want to have on the podcast. And I'm honored to have on the podcast. And I'd love to, if you could take a second, introduce yourself. Happy to hear about what you do at Manflow Yoga, and also, kind of how you became to be the man you are today.
Sure. Well, I'll try to live up to some of that in my introduction. So basically, I started a brand called Manflow Yoga in 2012. Started just recording YouTube videos in my college apartment, and the reason for that was because I started doing yoga, and I just started going to yoga classes. My first one was a total accident. I was actually looking for the tailor, and I wandered into a yoga studio instead. I was going to go to the gym anyways after that. So I said, okay, I'll just do this, I'll just do this yoga workout. Halfway through the class, I was completely and utterly exhausted. And it was only halfway through. And it just showed me, wow, I'm not as strong as I thought I was. There are a lot of things that I have to learn. There are a lot of ways that I can easily get stronger. For me, whenever I encountered something, and even now, this is something that I maintain. But back then, I just intuitively knew that because something was difficult, I had an opportunity to grow tremendously from it. So I kept doing yoga. I noticed how it helped me as an athlete. I noticed that I had better control over my breathing, had better control over my body. I felt more efficient with my body. Like I felt stronger, but I also felt lighter at the same time. And I tried to get other guys to do it from my lacrosse team. I was like, yo, you got to come to yoga with me. This is like really cool. And they were like, no, I'm not going to yoga. And this was 2012. I think there was still a lot of, normal guys didn't go to yoga at the time, I think. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, how do I make yoga cool, right? How do I help guys get the benefits of yoga like I did? So I started this YouTube channel, started uploading workouts, and I just did it as a hobby. Eventually, I found myself in a position where I didn't have a good job opportunity. So I was like, well, let me see what I can do with this Facebook page and this YouTube channel. And slowly built that into what it is today, which is much more of I don't know how to describe it. It's a community of men focused on improving their fitness and their overall wellness with yoga. The type of yoga that I teach is it's very different from traditional yoga. It's more focused on strength, more focused on active mobility, more focused on proper technique. We don't kind of stray into the spiritual aspects as much. So we don't talk about chakras. We don't really do, we don't do the chanting. We do a lot of what you typically see, what you associate with yoga. So it's kind of like yoga without the yoga in a lot of ways. It's like the workout aspects of yoga, combined with just any kind of body weight exercise that I found beneficial, which is physical therapy. It could be calisthenics. It could be just isometric strengthening. So it's all these different body weight exercises that are put into the flow of a yoga workout, focusing on breathing, focusing on the proper technique. And it's been a really good way for guys to work on their functional overall fitness, but also to really the big thing that unites people coming into manful yoga is this desire to get out of pain. So whether they have chronic back pain, knee pain, maybe they've had an accident or injury that just kind of nagging, or they could be, athletic guys who work out frequently and they have pain from their workouts, or they have, low back pain when they're lifting, or shoulder pain when they're doing overhead movements. And so yeah, there's lots of different guys that come to manful yoga, but the big overall, uniting factor is they have pain and they're interested in a type of yoga that focuses more on the physical fitness, less on the spiritual side, and is catered to men who are less flexible than what traditional yoga typically demands. So that's my thing.
That's a that's an awesome backstory, and something that I don't think we've ever connected on is that we both played lacrosse. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny.
Oh,
I was
I gotta show you this. I just ordered 1,000 lacrosse balls, for just like, branding, but like we have like 1,000 manful yoga lacrosse balls now. So I'll send you one.
dude. I like. Do you use them to like roll out and stuff?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Oh
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, I
dude.
didn't, they're black. So like, I don't think I would recommend like playing with them because you might just like get a, rubber ball to the face, but they're good for massage. That's the goal.
Yeah, dude, I actually this summer I was working out in Bend, Oregon, and I saw someone that was wearing like college lacrosse stuff, and I was like, by any chance, do you have like any men's league lacrosse? He's like, not only do I have like a bunch of extra gear. So for the literally for the first time in 9 years, I played every Wednesday, 2 hours of full field pickup lacrosse. It was fun,
Exhausting.
man. Except yeah, it was exhausting. I had everything except like a chest, like shoulder pads, whatever.
Yeah, you
Um,
don't need those.
no, you don't need those. I went 12 good weeks. Like the last week, I got like a poke check right in like the sternum, and I was like, that's like the only time you'd ever need that. But it's
Mhm.
funny, I'll take this as a reminder, and I'd like to give it to other people as well to not be scared to take a minute to slow down because we've worked together for a few months now, and like that's the first time like that I know we really dove into lacrosse. So
Mm. Yeah.
so always a good reminder to slow down and be human even when you're working.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with
So
that.
I want to ask you something. I think, well, I know from experience that the way that you approach yoga makes it approachable for men, right? I am the slightly too tight, like slightly immobile, slightly in pain guy who needs manful yoga, and
Mhm.
I've enjoyed doing some workouts. And my question is, are you interested in practicing kind of like the spiritual side of it personally? And do you just leave that out of your coaching? Or are you just more looking at yoga as like a really good vehicle for helping people live pain free?
Personally, I'm not interested in the traditional spiritual practice of yoga. So I'm not I had to do this because I did my yoga teacher training, so I learned about like the 8 limbs of yoga and the different practices. But for me, I really only focus on the breathing aspect and I focus on the physical aspect. So I'm not, and I do meditation, but I do it on my own and it's kind of separate from yoga. So I like yoga as the workout because it just helps my body feel better. It helps me strengthen my weaknesses. It helps me slow down. It allows me to develop the relationship between my breath and my body, and being able to understand how using my breath um, can facilitate better fitness, both in my workouts and also in day to day life. As far as going into the spiritual, this is something I've been asked about a lot, and it's something that I've pondered a lot. And it's kind of a distinction between the it's a little bit of a distinction between like the religious side and the spiritual side, and most yoga is not religious. Most yoga is spiritual, but most yoga is not religious. So like for me, there are some um there's some airing into the spiritual side when I'm in the sense that when I'm focusing on a workout and I'm really focusing on my breathing and I'm focusing on my body, that allows you to tap into that allows you just to tap into a mood or a mental space where you're kind of able to you're better able to be present, and you're better able
Mm,
to think about how you're feeling. You're better able to just think about yourself in general and all the things that are going on. And I think for some people, that's what they would consider a spiritual experience, is when they're able to, get a sense of themselves in relation to the universe. And so that's where, you can lean into the spiritual side. Um, but for me, I really focus on yoga as a mental wellness practice and physical wellness. I mean, primarily as physical wellness. I would do what I do now. I would do that solely for the physical benefits because it's great. Um, but the kind of the added bonus is that it also helps me mentally and emotionally. It just helps me be more patient. It helps me stay kind of cool, calm, and collected for the day. It helps by practicing, focusing on your body and your breath. It doesn't have to be yoga, but focusing on your body and your breath and your workouts, it allows you to tap into that space even when you're not working out. So, it could be later in the day and I'm just, I'm thinking about work, or I'm at work and I'm realizing, oh, I'm not breathing right now. And it's a good reminder to, because you're practicing it, to be able to tap into that and start breathing with more control. Or when I'm going on a walk and I realize like I'm not winding down, I'll start, okay, I'm going to focus on my breathing now. So, there's not necessarily it's not necessarily the yoga that makes it special. It's just that there's the emphasis on body awareness and breathing that is very important to the effectiveness of yoga. And so the practicing of that is what allows me to have a lot of the
mm.
benefit you would associate with being a yogi. But I really don't identify as a yogi. Like I just don't. Um, I do yoga. I use yoga, but I'm not like a yogi,
Yeah.
so so to speak. My wife just educated me this week and said, Dean, "Sort to speak is not a phrase. It's so to speak." So to speak, I'm not a yogi, but I do yoga. Yeah.
I I definitely agree. I think that like having people feel that like relationship to the world is what people would call a spiritual experience. And for me,
Yeah.
it's outdoor running, um, very specifically outdoor and on the trail in
Yeah.
woods, right?
Totally.
Like on the side of the road doesn't cut it. And in some way, I like to practice meditation, traditional sense, quiet room, cross-legged, all that good stuff. But at the same time, that is like the deepest meditative spiritual states I get to is running.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's really good for people to find modalities that check multiple boxes. So I probably look like an insane person because I do most of my running in the morning before the sun comes up, and I tape my mouth to focus on nose breathing.
Mm.
And if anyone thinks that's hard, I tell everyone it's actually easier because when you tape your mouth and your nose breathing, if you start to like breathe and need to breathe so fast and needs to go out of your mouth, you just slow down. Like there,
Right, you can't
you
go
know,
that fast.
no, I know.
I
So
mean, you
like
can go
some people
fast,
like,
but you're not sprinting. Yeah.
yeah. It's funny. I say it, and some people are like, wow, like that's amazing. I'm like, no, I just run slow. Uh, um, but it's it that to me is kind of like my entryway into some of this like breathing and spiritual
Mhm.
experiences
Totally.
and practices that you're talking about. But I went to a yoga retreat with Dav, who I introduced you to,
Yeah.
and man, did I resonate with what you said because I'd be in a posture. And, at the same time, he'd be like, Sean, squeeze your right glute and bring that left big toe down and like engage on the ground. And I'm like, wow, like, this just creating a lot of like neural connections, and like like it's bringing me into my body. And I've been inspired, going to that retreat and then seeing, some of the work that we've been doing. I've been inspired to kind of like dive into yoga. I just don't think there's anything that creates that neuro connection to like your body like yoga.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of overlap between, other disciplines in yoga. Like you'll get a lot of the, like you'll get prescribed cat cow, it's called cat camel in physical therapy. You're going to get prescribed like, bridges in physical therapy, which you would also do in yoga. But yeah, what makes yoga special, I think, is the instead of saying, do 3 reps for 30 seconds and then like, do this other one for 3 reps for 45 seconds. Yoga is meant to just be a flow continuously. So you're doing this exercise, okay, hips down, now do this. Okay, now go into this, or now ease into this position. So it's meant to continue the flow of a workout instead of breaking it up and potentially losing that mindfulness that you're that string of mindfulness kind of that you are putting together when you're following it as a flow as opposed to doing this workout. Okay, let me check my phone. What's next? Okay, now I do this exercise. Oh, okay, let me check my phone. Oh, what happened on Instagram in the last 30 seconds? Now let me open this up and then I'll, so like it's a totally different experience when you're really immersed in the workout and from start to finish as opposed to breaking it up. So I think that's where the power of it I think lies.
Yeah, I think there's that lesson probably can be said to everything. I mean, even these podcasts, something that I taught myself with these podcasts. I have two tabs open. One is like
Mhm.
notes, like if you say something I just want to go to, and
Yeah.
then and I try not even to go there as much as possible. And the other is just this one because it's like if you're gonna do a podcast, be there, enjoy it. Like be
Yeah.
all. Even if you're gonna do a call, it doesn't have to be a podcast. A call with someone, be all in, and if not, send an email that you can't make the call and
Yeah.
do it over email. My business coach taught me this years ago. At the end of every day, I look at my calendar the next day, and I look at every meeting. And if I'm not 100% committed to being there, I just cancel it or remove it.
Hmm.
And that, and you can do that in tasteful ways and still get work done. And it's more important to be honest with yourself than to just say, nope, I'll be there for all of them. Like, really, if you don't feel like truly motivated and committed that like you're just going to be there and lock in, don't attend. Um,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's actually helped my business. It's helped me like be happier. And it's something I'm trying to. It's called my 100% rule. You're either 100% in or you're 100% out. I've been trying really hard to live by that.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I think the cool thing about yoga is that when you're doing yoga, you're practicing that, right? You're practicing being present. And whenever your mind starts to wander and you're like, "Oh, what am I doing today?" That's when you guide yourself back. You say, "Oh no, I'm focusing on my body right now. I'm focusing on what I'm doing right now in this moment." And when you do that, you're able to practice it in other things. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we're kind of obsessed with efficiency, right? We want to get as much done as possible. And what we hurt by doing that is we confuse that the work is we we get this notion that the work is actually a checklist, right? So instead of doing the work and immersing ourselves in the work, we try to get as much done instead. So we're on a call, we're multitasking, we're like, I got to get through this checklist, I got to check the boxes, and you're never going to run like the to-do list is never going to end. It's just going to change. So the more that you can get out of the I'm going to just get this thing done and into the I'm going to be present and try to enjoy this experience or take what I can from this experience, then you're going to be much happier than, if you're just going through life with like a checklist of to-dos, to finish. And so yeah, I completely agree with the like 100% in or out. Cause
Yeah.
yeah. So
The, you mentioned a term practice, which I
Mm,
really, really like. So let's all go through something. LeBron James is going into the NBA Finals.
mhm,
How much is he practicing for that? I mean, he's probably talking about the NBA Finals, you know, from the day the season ends before, every gym session, every practice, not to mention everything he's done, the last 35 years of his life, right?
mhm,
And you would almost say like it would be absurd. It would be unacceptable for him to show up not practiced and him and everyone on his team. And like what you
mhm,
said is like I was talking about work, and you said, yeah, that like I was talking about work and podcast, and you said that's why I do yoga, right?
mhm,
You just like gave me a clear vision of what the happiness discipline is,
mm,
and it's practicing life, right? Like that's like a lot what it is. Like in yoga you're always going to have distractions come like mentally, and yoga can, if you need to have like your every part of your body in certain places, you need to have your breathing right, like you need to be in the moment, like there's no other place you can be to do yoga
mhm.
correctly.
Yeah.
And it's whether it's yoga or meditation or running or whatever it is, like I think developing a daily practice for your mind is critical. I
Mhm,
there's a one of the chapters is of my book is titled "Why Don't We Practice?"
mm,
And it's because people don't practice life. I think you'll relate to this because I know you have a plunge and do a lot of cold exposure.
mhm.
This is what I think about cold therapy is, would you agree that cold therapy is good stress response practice?
The number one thing that it's for is, yeah, it's like it's practicing being in the moment.
Dude,
Yeah.
thank you. Um,
Yeah, like there's tons of benefits like outside of it. And when you go to the coldplunge.com or you go to these other cold plunge sites, they're going to tell improved recovery, weight loss, blah 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 blah, like all these things. I'm like, dude, number one thing is like
stress.
you're dying. Your body thinks you're dying and you're just staying in it because you're practicing
Yeah.
discipline. You're practicing just being present. There's so many things that are happening in that outside of physical that would I do it if there were no physical benefits? I don't know. Maybe. But like the mental benefits alone are incredibly powerful. So, you know.
Dude, way to be honest with yourself. But that's what I talk about, and that's what I believe I should say is like literally the number one thing it's for is stress response. And like, let's think about that. You get in, your body thinks you're dying, and
Right.
the only way to stay in and stay in long is to down regulate, is to lower your heart rate, lower your respiratory rate, lengthen your
Mhm.
exhale. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Imagine how like that can help like in life. People expect to go off a bad night's sleep, a busy day of work, a challenging financial news, and then to come home and maybe they have someone, their partner or their kid, say something to them that spikes them instantly, and they
Yeah.
expect to be able to react calmly without ever practicing that. So
Yeah.
now it goes to the question to the people, there's a huge trend around, working out now and cold plunging and all these things and meditating. But now I
Mhm.
think to me, it goes back to like a lot of people that aren't like prioritizing this every single day, are asking, why the hell would you jump in icy water?
Mhm.
It's like, really think about it. Like that 4 minutes changes your whole life. And, pay attention to your mental habits, like watch how like as you get into the cold water you become a more um I'm stoics coming to my tongue, but you become more in control, I would
Mhm.
say. And you know unless like instead of like observing your reactions, like you're actually the one acting.
Yeah, I think what's really important in the cold plunge is the dialogue that you're having with yourself. So, I think when I first started cold plunging, it was from a different place. It was from this place of I'm going to show everybody that I'm a badass, right? And like cold plunge knows this. Like they literally have a holder for your phone on the tub. Like you don't order that separately. It comes with it because they know that you want to record yourself going into it. So for
Wait.
me,
I'm a marketer. They do that to get more content
oh
for
yeah,
themselves,
and
also.
it works. I mean, it totally works. Like, and it's great for me too because I don't have to put a camera stand out there. So like, it totally works. But if you're coming into the cold plunge and like you're doing it and your dialogue is I'm proving everybody wrong, I'm going to be a badass, like I'm going to hold it for a little bit longer, like you're or if you're just calling yourself come on you pussy, just do it like a little longer, like it really depends on like the dialogue that's going to set you up for the rest of your day. That's going to, what the dialogue that you're practicing as you're in there is going to carry over into other aspects of your life. So for me, instead of, where I used to be, I think I was coming at it from more of like, okay, I'm a badass. I'm a badass. I'm going to keep doing this. Now I'm in there and I'm like, I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm worthy. Like I'm just doing this for like a celebration of my like what my body is capable of doing. I'm not coming at it from this place of I'm going to stay in this cold tub longer than another person, right? I'm not trying to like I'm not getting to a point where I'm shivering and saying, I'm going to do 2 more minutes because I just want to be able to say that I did 6 minutes at 37 degrees. Like, that's not where I'm coming at from it anymore. Now I'm in this place of I'm here and I'm doing this because I know it's going to cause me to show up better for my family because I am managing my mental state better. Um, I'm doing this because I'm just proving to myself that I'm strong and I'm capable of doing this. And then as it starts to get difficult, I really say like, wow, how amazing is it that I have this opportunity to willingly put myself in 37-degree water every day or every other day. Like this is an amazing opportunity for me. Like how blessed am I that like this is the hard part of my life. Like I'm not living in physical danger. I'm not scared for my life on a daily basis. I'm not scared for, for resources or for my safety. So like the things that I get to do to like endanger myself are self-imposed. So like I try to as I'm in there, I try to that's the dialogue I try to facilitate is
Mhm.
gratitude and like and reinforcing like, hey, I'm worthy, I'm good enough as I am. I don't need to do this in order to prove that. So, that
Dude,
was a kind of a
Dean.
ramble, but
No,
yeah.
that was the gold nugget of the podcast right there in my mind. Dude,
That's the clip.
yeah, that's a clip. Um, it goes out even like not just plunging, exercising, right? It was
Mhm.
4:30 this morning. It was 39 degrees outside here, foggy and like wet. And I was doing
Mm.
burpees on Northeast High School gym that I had to hop a fence because they don't like not high schoolers doing burpees out there. And I was
Mhm.
like, you know, what happens anytime you do something hard? I said, why the fuck am I out here? You know what I mean? I was like, what am I doing? And I'm grateful to say that I had some of those thoughts that you had, but I just realized like whenever you're going through something hard, like really just reframe, that to like why are you doing it? And the reason I did this work, I was like, this does allow me to be a better version of myself for my clients, my family, my friends, myself.
Mhm.
Um, and that place of gratitude that you were talking about, it's not the 1700s anymore. Like we live in a place of abundance. Like we don't incur real stress daily, like serious
Mhm.
stress, and we actually have to go seek it, which is super new for humans, and it should feel weird, but just think about it, and more importantly just feel in your gut, and it's a good thing to do and go get after. And you know, I'm even thinking about I'm training for this high rocks race, and
Mm.
someone's like, "Oh, what time are you gonna get?" And I was like, "So this is my first one." And I don't know if you know a high rocks race. It's a
I
thousand
don't.
kilometer run. So it's a 1,000 kilometer run with a station 8 times. So you run a total of 8,000 kilometers or 8,000 meters, eight
Hold on a
thousand
minute.
kilometers.
Wait, then that you just like ran across the Atlantic Ocean with that.
No, no, no.
You mean meters, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
All right, cool.
1K,
and then a
We're
station. I just
Americans. We
ran.
struggle with the metric system.
I know it's 0.6 miles. There we go. Because that's what everyone's asking. They're like, okay, how many miles is that? It's point
Yeah.
0.6 miles, which is a fun distance because you have to be cooking. But
Yeah.
it's you're cooking for 4 straight minutes. Like it gasses you out, and then like a station, and the stations are like push a sled, whatever. Um, I've never done it before, so like, dude, if I get an hour or an hour 5 or an hour 10 or an hour 15, like I don't even know the difference, let alone care. But
Right.
like, so my goal for the first one is to leave proud. My goal for the first
Mm.
one is to be like, damn, like when I hit those roadblocks at minute 20, 40, and 60, like I just blew through them. And then from there, my goal will be to improve on my time. And I can't control what anyone else does. Um, it's like the last like three of these, the world record is going to be set. So like when I go to this one, there's only a few. Someone's going to set the world record. I won't be close to them. All good. It's like like
Mhm.
when you're doing something, I think you should just compare yourself to yourself really. And um, but you said something that made me think about the word balance. Um, because you were talking about like getting in the plunge and doing it to tell yourself like I'm worthy. Like that was one of the first things you said. And I
Mm.
actually was struggling with that. So I got into training because
Oh, yeah,
like
and the message there is I'm already worthy. Like,
yeah.
I'm not worthy. I'm not doing this to prove that I'm worthy. I'm already worthy. And on top of that, I'm here. Those so sorry, I
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that.
No, dude,
Yeah.
it's a great distinction. And that's kind of the balance I'm talking about. So I'd love your thought about this. It seems like an incongruent message when I say, "Hey, I'm worthy. Like I'm healthy now. Like I love. Like I'm happy in my skin in my body, but I need to go work out and eat healthy at the same time." And
Mhm.
it's like this. You're not like working out, to become worthy. You're working out to honor yourself,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and practice these mental things, but balance that with like you're worthy. And it's something I'd love your opinion on because I've been going back and forth with this, right? Like I don't need to earn more money to feel good about myself, earn any money to feel good about myself. We're all, good as we are. But I want to provide for my family. I want to, make a change on this world, and business is a great way to,
Mhm.
measure and do that. So, there's just like both sides of the coin that I think we need to have space to hold them both. I don't know. That's
Mm.
how I think about it. I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with fitness. I mean, I think there's a tendency for someone from the outside looking in at someone who's really into fitness. They're like, "Why do you do all this stuff? Do you just enjoy like punishing yourself?" I think a really good example was like, I think it was a week after my daughter Maylee was born. This was in March, and I think I made a post on social media, probably Instagram, saying, it's been a week and I'm kind of like out of my habits and I haven't been eating well and, I haven't been able to do my cold plunge. And someone commented and they said, like, "Hey, man, give yourself a break. You just had a baby." And I don't think what people realize is that it's not about like making yourself feel bad because you're not doing those things. It's that you literally feel bad because you're not doing those things. Like physically and mentally, you don't feel as good as you normally do because the truth about living a healthy lifestyle is it just feels good. Like when I am doing cold plunging, when I am working out, when I am eating well, when I am disciplined, or I don't know if disciplined is the right word, but when I'm making healthy choices for myself, when I'm, eating well, when I'm drinking lots of water, when I'm taking care of myself mentally, it feels good. Like I would do that anyways. Like the benefit is how you feel. It's not about like, I'm doing this so that I can look good in the
Energy.
mirror, and if I don't, then I won't be able to make a good post on Instagram. Oh my god, like no, I'm doing this because like I feel good doing it because I am able to work better. And even more importantly, that I'm able to show up for the way that I want to with my family. I think that is something that, you know, um, Sean, you don't have kids yet, but if you ever get to that point, the one thing that's a huge difference between having kids and not having kids, when you finish work, you used to be able to like turn off. You're like, I'm done. I'm going to sit on the couch now. I am going to relax. Now, when you finish work, you come home and there's kids there. You have your kids to take care of. And guess what? They take a lot of patience. You can't just like go balls to the wall at work all day and then come home and expect to be a great dad. You have to have stuff left in the tank. You have to have gas left to be able to be patient, to be able to, to be able to actually think about what you're doing as a parent. Parenting isn't like a natural thing. If everyone is just a parent naturally, you would just be prodding your kid to do this thing and then to do that thing and say, okay, go eat your food. No, don't do that. Eat your food. You wouldn't actually be you wouldn't actually be
Yeah.
parenting. You would just be ordering them around. So like, parenting consciously takes a lot of effort. And, for me, I do all these things and I monitor my mental well-being because I know that if I don't, I am just going to be a terrible, terrible parent and a terrible husband. So, there are these things that I have to do and that I have to prioritize in order to be able to do that. So that's the first part of your question. I think the second part is there's a balance between I actually need these things versus I want these things. I think business is a great example of that. When you're driven, um, the success that we see is largely in dollar signs, right? That's how we measure our success. It's not a it's not particularly a it's not a nice way of saying it, but the reality is like we measure our success and how much money we make. And so I think I think the goal there is to figure out how can we make money and make as much as we can, but also do so in a way that is aligned with your values and aligned with respecting yourself. There could be times when you're working harder and it's taking more of your energy. Um, and hopefully when that is happening, you're also acknowledging to yourself, this is a short-term thing. I'm not going to be doing this for the next 6 months. I'm doing this because I have a certain goal that I'm working toward, and this is going to be like a 1 to 2 week thing. I have friends who are in the startup space, and um, they're working from like 7 a.m. until like 7 p.m., and then they go home and they have a beer and drink and have dinner, but then they go back on their emails afterwards. And like I'm just like that's not for me. So I think figuring out how you can do your work in a way that aligns with your values and respects your mental and your physical health is really important.
Yeah. When
Sorry,
you
that was a
said,
really long answer.
Dean, rants are when we kind of get clarity of what we're saying. And it's funny, you kind of hit it in the beginning. And like, in my opinion, when you said I'm not feeling bad because I feel bad about myself for not doing these things, I'm feeling bad because I'm not doing these things.
Mhm.
I started maybe about 3 years ago. I really started taking a look at who I hang out with, and I just started people I admired. I just started, hey, come on the podcast. Let's go take a walk. Let's go get a workout. Whatever people I just didn't reach out to, and I there's a word energy that just comes back around and has been for years. And I've realized optimizing for energy is just the key, right? And
Mhm.
to me, energy is very, very similarly related to what you're saying. Like things that feel good, right? It feels good to have energy, right? Like imagine if you came up from work and had unlimited energy to play with your kid, answer your wife. It takes energy to have patience. It takes energy
Mhm.
to get up and do. Like energy drives everything. And all decisions that I believe we should make are about what gives me more energy. I actually had a
Mhm.
podcast 2 days ago where the guy said after every single day he looks back at his calendar and goes and retroactively changes the color of every meeting to red, yellow, green. Did it take my energy, neutral energy, or give me energy? At the end
Hmm.
of every month, he reviews them. All ones in red, he delegates or gets rid of. He tries to do it with ones that are yellow, or if it's yellow, he goes ahead and and makes them yellow moving forward. And he enters it understanding, hey, this is actually part of a long-term plan, right? Like, whatever, maybe you're meeting with your accountant once a quarter to talk numbers. You don't really get stoked about it, but you understand it helps you do other things. And that
Mhm.
actually changes the yellow to a green in some ways, because it's like,
Yeah.
it slows you down. Um,
Yeah. If
Man,
you
you
don't
said a
like
lot of,
eating the broccoli, it's good to think about, well, what do I get out of eating the broccoli? And then somehow
yeah,
it makes it like, oh, maybe I do like eating the broccoli, you know?
dude. Okay, I have this silly idea called making decisions in a time tube. That's not going to be the name. It's going to be a chapter of the book. But here's the concept. And I'm a little bit of like a logic math nerd, but bear with me on this. You eat a double scoop of ice cream, okay? For it takes you 10 minutes to eat. So for
Mhm.
10 minutes, your happiness level was 9 out of 10, high. It tasted
Mhm.
good. You're enjoying every bit. For the next 3 hours that you're awake, you do feel sluggish, bloated, and a little guilty and bad about yourself. So you're maybe a
Yeah.
2 out of 10. That 2 out of 10 now is for 3 hours. Okay.
Mhm.
So if we were to weigh them, right, that's obviously a bigger portion. And then the next day, you also wake up with a little less energy because you ate a little less healthy. And you also, that guilt carried out through the day. By dinner the next day, whatever, doesn't matter. So now we
Mhm.
take eating this ice cream, which someone says, "Oh, I deserve it," whatever. And look, this is a funny example. I had ice cream for the first time in a while last night. We had my mom needed help painting. We painted her whole living room, and we went out and got ice cream after, right?
Mhm.
And like I actually, if I could go back, I would have undone done it.
Mhm.
And the reason is like overall, it was a net negative in my life. And if I was to eat that salad, if you're a pro, you can start to relate salad to longevity, high energy, and I like salad. I think salad tastes amazing. But even if you
Mhm.
don't, maybe it'd be the exact opposite. For 10 minutes, you're like, cool, I'm just shoving the salad in. Then the rest of the day, you're proud of yourself. You have energy, you have clarity, and the next day, and then you take the compounding effects of all those things, and it expands. So like over, if I looked back and said, hey, Dean, on March 1st, 2023, you ate a salad, you'd feel great about it now. You're like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Versus like, hey, you ate ice cream on that day. And that's how I'm
Mhm.
trying to like make decisions is, you know, whether it's
I mean,
one
that's like
little,
it's like
yeah,
stoicism. I mean, that's
yeah,
stoicism, what you're describing, right?
yeah, yeah. So you do practice, you do study stoicism a little
I
bit.
do. Yeah. But go on, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You just said it in a really good way as well when you said, if I have to work really hard for 2 weeks, um, because I think like level one is getting over short-term tasks. I have to go on the ice. I have to work out. I have to eat broccoli. I
Mhm.
think level two is understanding the big picture in a 2 week span. Like maybe, around the holidays, okay, my parents are split. My girlfriend's parents are in another state. So like around the holidays, it's like, all right, I'm going to fly to Wisconsin. I'm going to drive to Baltimore, drive to DC. My brother lives in New York. He always has a Christmas show. He's a musician. And I know, okay, I'm going to be moving. I'm going to be off my schedule, but it's to see family. And if you could maintain the, like always the bigger goal, whether it's building your business, seeing family, whatever, improving your health into like the day to day, I think that's like mindfulness in a way, and I,
Mhm.
I really enjoy the way that you spoke about that.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's a really good way. That's how I try to explain, people who are trying to lose weight too. Like that's a big discussion in our community. I think reframing the wow is this 5 minutes or this 10 minutes that you're eating this ice cream? Is it really worth the way that you're going to feel afterwards and against all your long term goals? And that's a big reason why I choose to do these certain things during the day. I actually have a list in my sauna of like the different things that I shout out Sunlighten. Please, please, please make me an ambassador of some sort. Um, but like I have a list, and I actually put like a dry erase board in my sauna so I can like take notes while I'm in there and just journal. And I have a list of things that I do that, you know, they're not they're not all fun to do. Like, they're not, you don't do them in the moment. And you're like, wow, this is like a 9 out of 10. I'm loving my life right now. But they're just little things. They're just little, like little spurts of happiness, right? They're not the extreme, but they're like just above neutral. And if you can do more of those above neutral things that don't have a low associated with them, then you're going to overall be in a better mood. So like things on that list for me are exercise, cold plunge, sauna, hiking, box breathing, going on walks. And these are all things that sound super boring to someone who's anything younger than 22 years old. But like for me, those are all like, yeah, let's do those things because I know
Yeah.
that I'll be in a good mood. I'm not going to be hungover afterwards. Like, this is cool. Let's do these things. So like the more that you can do those things that are, I mean, that's right. That's the definition of virtue, right? Is figuring out, virtue is avoiding, um, what's the word? Avoiding, pleasure, right? Avoiding like extreme pleasures, um, because you know that if you focus on those things, you're not going to have like the 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, like extreme levels of happiness, but you are going to have consistently high levels of satisfaction and happiness. Like you're going to be riding at like a nice 5 or a 6 or a 7 for most of the time, instead of having those 9 out of 10s followed by the
Yeah.
next day like 1 out of 10, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd rather, instead of like optimize for peaks, I'd rather raise the level and keep it, as much as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, this was good. This flew by for me. I really
Yeah, I talk a
appreciate
lot,
this.
sorry. That's my bad.
No, I hey, on our calls, I feel like I just go rambling usually. So, and this was good, man. I really, um, I don't know. I thank you for like the work you've done on yourself. And sharing it with my community here, because if you didn't do all that work, that sexy work that happens, early mornings, late nights, between meetings in your head that no one's ever going to see or give you credit for, you wouldn't be someone to be able to talk about this at such depth and, share your experience. So for that, man, I really, appreciate you and taking the time to come on here.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful to somebody. So, I was happy to do it. So, thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, man. That should be like that's like my podcast tagline. I hope it was helpful to somebody.
I have a massage my massage therapist does that. She ends every session was like, "I hope that was helpful for you." Not like, nothing personal, just like, "I hope it was helpful for you." Like, it's a nice way to end things.
Yeah,
So, that makes sense to me.
it's it's honest, right? Well,
Mhm.
guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm sure Dean will be back and have some new cool stories. And Dean, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sean.
Hey, thank you for watching today's episode. If you got something out of this, it would mean so much if you could just take a second and give us a rating on whatever platform you're watching it on. And it would mean so much to the world if you could just find one person that you think this message resonates with and you could share that with them. Thank you so much for your support. Looking forward to share the next episode with you.